Hi, it's Kim here. Now, I love a flying goose, don't you just? Particularly when they're in their big flocks. Is it a flock of geese, flying geese? Anyway, in quilting terms, a flying goose is a lovely, lovely block. And they are really easy to make, but I know I have come across some people who have found them difficult. So here is my really easy guide on how to make them. And first of all, I'm going to switch camera and show you what a flying goose is, so you know that we are what we're talking about. So let me switch camera. There we go. So this is actually a Liberty quilt that I made a while back, still to be quilted. Have you got a pile of quilts that need quilting? Me too. So these here are flying geese. Okay, that little rectangle there with the two triangles on there. There's one next door to it, so they make you can't really see on here, but it makes an amazing pattern around this central square. And then up here, just to show you, we've got here a sort of fat flying goose. Can you see this effect that we're making here with this sort of diagonal? Then these squares here with these two triangles on are made in exactly the same way. So although I'm going to show you the rectangular way, there's no reason why you can't make them with squares as well. So let's move that out of the way and show you exactly how to make them. And if you stick around to after the demonstration bit, I will show you, excuse me, got a frog in my throat, I will show you how to size them up or down. I have to admit, I had to pause the recording there because I had a whole coughing fit. And I could go back and re-record, but do you know, we're all friends here, aren't we? Right, as we were, let's carry on. Of course, you're just sitting there and it's just by the magic of technology, it just carries on. But I had to go and have a major drink. So we have got our rectangle here and two squares. Now, as I just said, if you hold out to the end of this demo, I'll show you how all the sizing works. But let me show you the stitching bit. But the size of this is 4.5 inches that way and 2.5 inches that way. Obviously, it depends on the size of the flying goose you need. As I said, I will come to that. So this particular one, 4.5 inches by 2.5 inches. And then these little squares are 2.5 inches square. Okay, and they will fit on there, I promise, to make your flying goose. So I'm going to put that rectangle to one side and I'm going to turn these over. Okay, now this has got a bit of a pattern on it, so we probably need to be a bit careful about the pattern. But this, let me bring that back a second, is going to fit there. So I want to make sure that my pattern is going the right way. And I'm going to draw a line from that corner to that corner. So let me just concentrate on what I'm doing. I'm going to get a ruler and a pencil and draw a line from corner to corner. Just a little tip about pencils and drawing on the back of fabric when you're drawing a line. Blunt pencils work a bit better than sharp pencils. I'm a big lover of sharp pencils, but blunt pencils work better. Okay, so that's that one. Let's just check that that is going to go that way, and then just make sure that is correct. If you don't have a pattern on, it doesn't matter where this line goes as long as it is on the diagonal. Okay. So all this is there to do is guide us on our stitch line. I'll put that to one side for a minute. Get my machine into play, which is quite heavy. Let's angle my camera down so that you can see that. And I'm going to put my open toe foot on. So let's move that out of the way and put that on. And that is so we can see that centre line. Okay, so that's on there. Now I've got my rectangle and that's right side facing up. And then I've got my first square. And I'm going to place that, slightly difficult when you have a camera in the way, but you will find this a lot easier. I'm going to place that with the 3 edges all nicely lined up. Okay, so that the diagonal line goes from the left-hand corner up into the middle. That's what you're aiming for. All right. And I have just found it easier. You can try either which way. I've just found it easier to start stitching from this corner here. So I'm going to turn it round. I'm going to put my needle in the central position, okay? And I'm going to start with a thread saver here, all right? So if you've seen my videos before, you'll see that sometimes I use thread savers, and we need thread savers to help the machine when it's going over the ends of things where it doesn't like it. The machines don't like going over sort of nothingness. So if we have a thread saver and we start stitching on the thread saver, and I know I've got bright orange thread in here. I've been recording a few videos all in one go, so if you are binge watching, you will know that this orange thread has appeared in a few videos. So I'm going to go forwards. Okay, so that the thread saver is there just to get us going. And if I zoom in, she says optimistically, okay, I really feel like a roving reporter when I do this. I am going to line this central drawn line up with the middle of the foot and where the needle is going to go. So it's a bit of judgment, and to begin with you're going to have to guide this underneath the foot because the feed dogs won't be able to take it to start with. But it's easy to do. But as I stitch, it's going to take the thread saver and I need to get ready and guide that up. Okay, and I'm going to stitch along that central line with the line in the middle of my open toe foot. I actually can't see what I'm doing, so I'm slightly stitching in the dark. Okay, and we're going to come off the end. If you have a pile of flying geese, just remember at this point we can chain piece. You can get the next one ready and come straight on. Check out my video on chain piecing if you haven't already, because that'll teach you how to chain piece. But I am just going to come off the end there. Let's cut that. Let's re-angle my camera so that you can see. Okay, so it's all a bit on, it's on the her, isn't it? Which way around is that? There we go. So if I get my scissors and cut that off there, what you want to do first and foremost is press that with your iron open that way. All right. For the purposes of this exercise, I'm just going to finger press for the moment. Okay. But what I want you to do is really give that a good press, really press into that seam. And what we are looking for is the edges here, this square should perfectly fold back on itself. So all the edges on both sides match up perfectly. If they're all wibbly wobbly, if they sort of end up a bit like that, you'll need to unpick and restitch because otherwise it won't work when you're finishing your goose. Okay, so I'm going to give that a good press there. All right, so if you give that a press, so pause this video, give it a press and then come back, and then we open it back up again. So just pretend I have pressed. I will go and press this in a minute, but open it back up once you've pressed, and then these bits here we are going to cut off. So do not do this when you're tired because you are likely to cut off the wrong bit. So I'm going to turn that round because as I am right-handed, I'm going to be cutting with my right. If you're left-handed, you need to do it the other way around because your ruler would be there. Okay, I am right-handed, it goes that way. So I am going to get my ruler and my rotary cutter. And on rulers, you'll see that there is a 1/4 inch line generally all the way around. Whatever you'll make, you'll find that there's a 1/4 inch line. So I am placing that 1/4 inch line on that diagonal, okay, from corner to corner, so that I can cut off a 1/4 inch seam. Okay, So we end up with something looking like that. What to do with these bits, entirely up to you, but my lovely quilters I teach in person save these and they make fairy bunting with them. So there's going to be some very happy fairies around and about in a garden near you. Okay, so that's what we are ending up with. If I open it back up, I'm going to give that another press, and I'm going to pause this video and pause the recording and go and give that a press. Okay, so you can see the next bit, but that is what you're aiming for as stage one. So I'm just going to pause, go and give it a press. Okay, I've done that. So that is pressed to my left, and there's the sort of cut bit at the back there with the 1/4 inch. Now you're going to get the other square and make sure your pattern is whatever way up you want to. But as I turn that round and I match up the 3 edges, okay, there, there and there, getting my diagonal from the corner up to the top. Now you'll see it crosses over just at the top here. You want that, okay? And I'll show you why in a moment. So I'm going to do exactly the same thing with this. So I'm going to stitch along that line. So let's get my machine back. Angle the camera so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to start with my little thread saver. The same one, I don't need to get a new one. My presser foot has all, sorry, not my presser foot, my foot pedal has all disappeared. Okay, and then I'm going to start again from this bottom corner. Just encourage it onto that central bit of my open toe foot, and then stitch all the way down that central line, right, crossing over that first bit you stitched on. So let's cut that. Just move my machine out of the way and bring that so that you can see. Okay, so we've got the same situation now but the other side. So let's stitch off the thread saver, and then as I push that back, okay, just so we can check that we stitched it on correctly, you can see we've now got our flying goose. So this bit here is your goose, that's the beak. We want a nice sharp beak, and these bits are called the sky. Okay, so whatever colour combination you've got, that's the makeup of it. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to press that back, I'm going to cut that off, and then give it a good press. So what I'm going to do is just finger press that just for a bit of expediency, but what I want you to do is give it a press with your iron first and then cut this bit off. So pretend I've pressed that with my iron, open it back up, same thing again. I've got my ruler, I put that 1/4 inch line straight down that diagonal from corner to corner, and I've got that exactly corner to corner. It's a 1/4 of an inch. I'll make some more fairy bunting. So if my student Sheila is watching this, it's Sheila's idea to make fairy bunting. Okay, so I've cut that corner off, and now I open it up and I will give it a good press all over. So this bit here at the top is your 1/4 inch seam allowance for when you stitch on the next bit. So if I had another bit of fabric, I'm just stealing some fairy bunting for a moment, this generally gets stitched on somewhere else, so let's just pretend that there's something there. That's how you will end up with it. So your beak, your goose here, is a sharp point, so you want to really make sure that you're working on getting your 1/4 inch seam finishing exactly where that point is, so you don't get a blunt beak, okay, or you don't get any of this, the sky showing either. Okay, so that just comes with practice and practicing matching your seams. But that is how you make a flying goose. Okay, easy peasy. So what I'm going to do is just pause for a second, move my machine out of the way, and I'm going to show you how to do the different sizes, because there's just a little bit of technique on that, but it is easy, I promise. So let me just pause this for a moment. Okay, a flying goose that we've just created, do you remember I said we started with a rectangle that was 4.5 by 2.5 inches and two squares which were 2.5 inches square, 2.5 by 2.5. So this gives us a finished, not a finished size, a 2-stitch size of 4.5 inches. Okay, so it's 4.5 that way by 2.5 that way. Okay, so by the time that we have stitched it into place in our blocks, in our quilt, that'll finish at 4 inches by 2 inches. So that'll be my finished size. Okay, so let me show you this on a bit of paper. So you might want to scribble this down. So this one here, if I want a finished size of 4 inches by 2 inches, okay, I started off with my rectangle of 4.5 inches by 2.5 inches, and we know that because what I'll do is I'll link right at the end. I've got a whole video on sizing your blocks up and down, but this is particular to flying geese. So we know we want the finished rectangle to look like this. We know that if we were cutting a rectangle and we want it finishing at 4 by 2, we have to cut 4.5 by 2.5. So the 1/2 inches is always our seam allowance. Okay. So the little trick with flying geese is the 2 squares. Okay, so these are our sky and this is our goose. I would draw a goose, but I can't draw to save my life. All right, so you've cut your rectangle 4.5 by 2.5. So here is the maths of it. Go back to your finished size here is 4 inches, because you want 2 of your sky bits and they need to be half of that 4. So half of that 4 is 2, and we have to immediately add on 1/2 inch for our seam allowance, but we want 2 of them. So this is a square that's 2.5 by 2.5, and we want 2 of those. Okay, so 2 squares, 2.5 by 2.5. All right, and that's when it's stitched together, that's what makes that. So let's do another size. Let's just say we want, I'm just going to do in nice rectangles, we want 6 inches by 3 inches. Okay, we've got a rectangular 6 inches by 3 inches. So our rectangle needs to be 6.5 inches by 3.5 inches, all the time adding our 1/2 inch seam allowance. So therefore our squares need to be half of that, so it's that 3, actually this 3 inch or the 2 inch, isn't it? 2, 3. Okay, so we take the half of the 6, the 3 figure, so 3, and we add on our half. All right, so when we know that we've stitched these on, it gives us a 3 inch finish size here. Okay, so I'll just do one more so you can see. So let's just say we have an 8 inch 1 by 4 inches. You're getting the idea, aren't you? So my rectangle needs to be 8.5 by 4.5. We're adding our seam allowances on, and then our 2 little squares, we need to finish at 4 inches, but we need to add 1/2 inch on. Okay, and that's how you do the maths of your flying geese. So if I leave that there just for a second, you can pause the camera, you can scribble that down, and you can pretty much work it out to anything that you are making with flying geese, because we have big flying geese and we have little flying geese. Anyway, I hope that has been helpful. Depending on when you watch this, watch out for my video on folded flying geese. You'll like those, I promise. So depending on when this goes out, the folded flying geese will follow up in about a week or so. Okay, so if you're watching this fresh out of the starting gate, it may not be up yet, but as soon as it's up, I will link it at the end of this video. Hope that has helped. Have fun with making your flying geese. Please put a comment below. Please share some pics from me. Come and join the Facebook group Confident Quilting for Beginner Quilters, and come and show off your makes, and let's get quilting. I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.